Is Alexander Isak the most complete striker in the Premier League right now? Since joining Newcastle, he's turned their attack into a ruthless machine, scoring goals for fun, creating chances out of nowhere, and making defenders look helpless. Whether it's his dribbling, movement, or lethal finishing, he's doing things no Newcastle striker has done since Alan Shearer. But how exactly has he transformed this team, and why are clubs willing to break the bank to sign him? Let's break it all down. Well, every great player has a journey. For Alexander Isak, it started in Solna, Sweden, where football wasn't just a game, it was everything. His parents, originally from Eritrea, had moved to Sweden before he was born. By the time he was 6 years old, he had already joined AIK's academy. It didn't take long before people started talking about him. Even at a young age, he stood out, not just because he was tall, but because of the way he played. Quick feet, sharp movement, and an eye for goal. He wasn't waiting for the game to come to him, he went after it. At 16 years old, he made his professional debut for AIK. That same season, he became the club's youngest ever goalscorer, slotting one past Östersund's FK like he'd been doing it for years. A few months later, he was called up to the Swedish national team. At 17, he scored against Slovakia, becoming the youngest goalscorer in Sweden's history. The headlines were already writing themselves. Big clubs took notice, and in 2017, Borussia Dortmund came calling. This was a team known for developing young stars, and it seemed like the perfect move. Except it wasn't. Game time was rare. At Dortmund, Isak was competing with players who already had experience at the top level. He was still learning, still adapting, and the opportunities just didn't come. That's when he took a different path. In 2019, he moved to the Netherlands on loan with Willem II, and everything changed. 13 goals in 16 games, his confidence was back, and so was his form. That loan spell convinced Real Sociedad to sign him, and well, the move to Spain turned out to be exactly what he needed. In his first season, he scored 16 goals and helped Sociedad win the Copa del Rey, their first major trophy in over 3 decades. By now, he wasn't just a promising talent, he was a fully developed forward, taking on defenders, scoring from all angles, and proving he could do it on the big stage. He scored against Real Madrid, against Barcelona, against the best La Liga had to offer. Then came the summer of 2022. Newcastle United were looking for a striker who could take them to the next level. Eddie Howe wanted someone with speed, skill, and a natural instinct for goals, someone who could lead the attack for years to come. They had their eyes on Isak, and when the opportunity came, they made their move. £60 million later, he was a Newcastle player, the most expensive signing in the club's history. Some question whether he was worth that price, but let me tell you, there is a reason he was worth that much. Alexander Isak is a striker that defenders hate facing. His height, speed, and skill make him a nightmare to deal with. At 6'3", most would expect him to be a traditional target man, someone who relies on physical battles and aerial duels. That's not his game. His strength comes from his ability to move quickly, control the ball effortlessly, and take defenders out of the game with a single touch. His dribbling is something you don't see often in strikers his size. Most forwards at his height are either great in the air or strong at holding up play. Isak can run at defenders, glide past them, and create space for himself. His close control in tight areas make him look more like a winger than a centre forward. A big part of what makes him special is how he positions himself during attacks. He doesn't just stay inside the box waiting for a cross. He drops deep, links up with midfielders, and pulls defenders out of position. The moment the defence shifts, he makes his move, bursting into space and timing his runs to perfection. His ability to finish chances has also evolved. In his early career, he scored from all sorts of positions. Long-range shots, solo efforts, and volleys from difficult angles. At Newcastle, he's added another layer to his game, one-touch finishes inside the box. The kind of goals that top strikers score regularly. The numbers prove it. His shot conversion rate is among the best in the Premier League. He also has the intelligence to stay just onside while running behind defenders. His goals against teams like Arsenal and Spurs came from recognising the right moment to make his move. A split-second delay and the chance is gone. A step too early and it's offside. He gets it right almost every time. His pace adds another dimension. Defenders expect a player his size to be slower in acceleration. By the time they react, he's already gone. When Newcastle wins the ball and launches a counter-attack, he's often the first player on the move. making himself an option before the opposition can reset. His finishing, movement and decision making make him one of the most complete strikers in world football. Defenders can't predict what he'll do next: drop deep, take them on, or make a late run into the box. For Newcastle, he's not just a goal scorer, he's the player that makes everything click. Now, Newcastle's attack before Alexander Isak had moments of brilliance, but it lacked something consistent. There were flashes of quality from Callum Wilson and Alan Saint-Maximin, but the system relied heavily on individual skill rather than a well-balanced structure. Isak changed that. From the moment he stepped into the squad, Newcastle's attack looked sharper, faster and more unpredictable. His movement opened up new passing lanes, stretched defences and created space for his teammates. Suddenly, the wingers had a forward who could time his runs perfectly, and midfielders had someone they could link up with in tight areas. Eddie Howe knew exactly what he had. Instead of using Isak as a traditional striker, he gave him the freedom to drop deeper, drift wide and find gaps where defenders weren't expecting him. That small adjustment made a huge difference. Now, one of the biggest upgrades was how Newcastle attacked in transition. With Isak leading the line, counter-attacks became a real threat. As soon as Newcastle won the ball, he was already on the move, dragging defenders out of position or making himself available for a quick pass. His acceleration and ability to carry the ball forward turned Newcastle's counters into goal-scoring opportunities. His link-up play also gave players like Anthony Gordon, Bruno Guimaraes and Jacob Murphy more opportunities to influence the attack. Murphy, in particular, developed a strong connection with him. Since 2022, Murphy has assisted him in several goals, most of them coming from perfectly placed slow crosses. On the left side, Lewis Hall's overlapping runs provided another source of delivery, giving Newcastle more width and balance. This reduced their reliance on Kieran Trippier, who had previously been responsible for most of the team's creativity. Now, the attack wasn't running through one player, it was a fully functioning system. The results spoke for themselves. Newcastle's expected goals and total shot volume increased significantly after Isak became the focal point. They went from a team that relied on moments of brilliance to a team that could create dangerous chances every game. By the start of 2024, Isak had become the player Newcastle looked to in big moments. When the team needed a goal, he was the one stepping up. Whether it was a late winner, a composed finish under pressure, or a clever assist, he made the difference. His finishing has reached a new level. For example, against Ipswich Town, he scored a hat-trick that looked effortless. One-touch finishes, perfect positioning, and an instinct for when to strike. He wasn't forcing chances, he was in the right place, reading the game like a striker in his prime. His goal against Tottenham was another example of his development. A low cross from Jacob Murphy, a simple tap-in, but everything leading up to it was precise. He timed his run, reacted quicker than the defenders, and made it look easy. Against Arsenal, he delivered a standout performance, playing a critical role in Newcastle United's 2-0 victory, which secured a 4-0 aggregate win. His contributions were instrumental in both goals. He was involved in the build-up play that led to Jacob Murphy's opening goal and provided the assist for Anthony Gordon's second. Against Manchester United, it was all about his ability in the air. A perfectly placed cross from Lewis Hall, and Isak met it with power and precision. A few years ago, he wasn't scoring those types of goals consistently. Now, it was a regular part of his game. But what about his future? And are there any chances of him leaving? Every time a player reaches elite levels, the transfer rumours start. Alexander Isak is no different. His form has made him a prime target for top clubs across Europe, and some of the biggest names are watching closely. Arsenal and Chelsea are already being linked with the move. Reports suggest that both clubs are prepared to make a £100 million bid. With Isak's current contract running until 2028, Newcastle hold all the power in negotiations. They don't need to sell, and they don't want to. Alan Shearer, Newcastle's all-time top scorer, has made it clear he wouldn't sell Isak even for £150 million. For a club that's still building towards long-term success, losing a player like him would be a major setback. On the other hand, Newcastle's owners have been clear about their ambitions. The goal isn't just to qualify for Europe, it's to compete for major trophies. Isak is a key part of that project. His ability to lead the attack, score goals and influence games makes him one of the most valuable players in the squad. Keeping him isn't just about resisting offers from other clubs, it's about showing ambition. If Newcastle wants to close the gap on the top teams in England, they need players like Isak to stay and push the club forward. With him in the squad, Newcastle can challenge for Champions League spots, domestic cups, and eventually the Premier League title. Without him, they lose a forward who has completely transformed their attack. For now, he's staying, but as his reputation grows, the battle to keep him will only get harder. Anyway, what do you think? Is he already the best striker Newcastle has had since Alan Shearer? Or is he on his way to becoming even greater? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below.